Hello everybody, I'm back with another episode of the 2am book club. Unfortunately, I'm still getting on with The Great Gatsby, by the way, so that will come out, I assure you. But in the meantime, I thought I'd do one last review, because I read this book most recently, or I suppose it was a little bit before I read The Bell Jar, and I just essentially didn't want to lose any of the ideas I had about the book in my head. I suppose I'm keeping this more as a journal for myself, because I really hate annotating books and making notes myself and blah blah blah. I'm too lazy, so I like to riff, and this could be like a little journal for myself. And if you happen to watch these for whatever reason, I don't know, you might want to watch or read the book and get your own ideas about it. But this book is a story set in the far future, or a universe far in the future, where humanity has basically spread across the stars, has colonized a lot of space. And I really find interesting about the book is where it's set, or when it's set rather, Earth is pretty much forgotten. It's a blip in human history, and that's quite interesting, because you'd assume that given, humanity was to reach out into the stars, we'd recognize Earth as like, our origin, our place of origin, but it just seems like a little blip in human history, obviously provided or alludes to that fact that it's set far into the future. The book is a set of basically shorter stories in the same sort of universe that Alex has created, and these 5 short stories also link to one another. I really don't want to spoil this book, because the stories are so short. If I were to give information, it's most definitely going to spoil something, and I think this book is definitely worth reading on your own. So I suppose all I'll say is it's like a sci-fi story set in a far future universe where humanity's essentially spread out into the universe and forgotten Earth. Do go read the book. It really had a lot of I think is perhaps I'm easily impressed, right? But it seems like I say this with every book, in that it really did have a lot of profundity on me, and so perhaps I say this about every book, I'm easily impressed. But I think personally I'm just reading really good books, so thank God. Well, you'll see what I think about The Great Gatsby soon enough. But also my cat is sleeping, so I don't want to be too loud. God, he looked over at me like all disappointed, sorry. But yeah, I really like this book, and I would strongly recommend anybody to read it. If you're interested in reading some sort of sci-fi with a human element that will break you for the next month. So if you do want to, do go read it. It's available on Amazon. But now, for the spoiler section. I think the first idea I want to get into is just how personal I think it was for Alex in his writing. It essentially felt like there were not many elements of the book that weren't accounted for by Alex's own personal experience, it felt like, to me at least. And I think the one that stuck out to me the most was, there are, I think it was 5, I think I don't prepare for any of these book reviews, because I think it seems more disingenuous. You wouldn't think so, it doesn't really seem like that's the case, but it just seems like if I were to go off the top of my head, it feels more genuine, so I don't do any preparation, so sorry about that. But I think it was 5 or 4, must be, I'll go through it in the end later on anyway. But essentially, the way I interpreted these short stories is I interpreted them as each a different dynamic of love. And so the first story, you see the love between a mentor and her student, right? In Gwendolyn, I think that was her name, and then the student who dies, and she kind of uploads his consciousness into her mind and travels with him. Then you see the love between, after that, I think it's Legs on Top and the Behemoth, I think. And then after that, so essentially that would represent the sort of love one has, like an owner has with their pet, and so there's like that. There's 2 dynamics there. Then the third one would be, it's a bit tricky, this one, because this was between the scientists, if I recall correctly. Maybe I swapped the order around, but for me, I interpreted it like a sort of long distance love. So for instance, it's intimate love, right? But it's long distance, not even just by nature. It could be long distance by Oh, fucking plane. You know what? Every time I say there's a plane, I fucking Christ. Yeah, every time I say there's a plane and then I like listen back and after the video is made, I can't hear the plane, so it just sounds like I'm going nuts, but it sounds loud to me, whatever. But yeah, so what I was saying, it doesn't seem as though it's long distance by nature, but more like there's something separating them. It could be anything, circumstance, it could be something that's essentially separating these two scientists from ever meeting and being in love with each other. There's just something there. It's like this invisible barrier. That probably seems like, you know, the author having an idea of it, but essentially leaving it up to our imagination. And so I can't really picture what that invisible barrier might have represented for the author, but for me it just seems like a barrier, but like a sort of long distance love between two actually intimate lovers. So that's the third dynamic. And then the fourth one is between father and son. At the end, when the father keeps bringing the son up to the mountain to go into that area of like the big sister area of raw like Sublimia syndrome, you know, where everything's all messed up and geometry works backwards and so on and so forth. And the sad, really brutally sad part at the end was that, you know, the dad is essentially guaranteed to die, because the way it works is you can't really break the chain of cause and effect, but he sees into the future and sees his dad dying, and so he kind of knows his dad is going to die no matter how hard he tries to like change the course of events. Oh my god. And the scientist as well, where she saw, or rather he saw, her name etched on his windowsill, and then he realized, sorry I'm being so vague here, but if you've read the book you'll know what I'm talking about, and then the scientist realized he was in the future. Basically if you haven't read the book, basically there's a monument these two scientists are at, right? And the monument was put there by these people called the Big Sisters, who are essentially this mystical sort of ancient intelligence responsible for like these ruins and buildings all around the universe and impossible technologies. So they were way advanced of like these humans, right? And there was this one monument left by the Big Sisters, which two scientists exclusive to one another had stumbled upon, and the monument actually was a bit of a time machine. And so what happened was these two scientists were communicating to each other through time, so they could hear each other's voice in the monument, but they were like 500 years apart. And there was this like little machinery gadget underneath the monument responsible for like warping time or whatever. And they started to fall in love with each other. And initially, the female scientist made it seem as though she was in the future. And so the guy was like coming up with all these ideas to try and meet her in the future. He said like things like, oh, I'll go into long sleep, and then I'll set it for 500 years, and then you just stay there, right? And I'll eventually meet you, because you'll be at this exact point in 500 years. So I'll set my long sleep chamber and just lie here for 500 years. And then in that point in future, you'd be here. But the trick is, she says to him, you're not here, and it's already 500 years into the future. So there is going to be something that stops you from being here, you know? And it's so tricky, and I love that. Little time sort of thing there. But yeah, she essentially says, well, it's been 500 years into the future and you're not here, which means something is going to stop you. Either you decide it's a bad idea, either your long sleep chamber stops working, or something. You're not here, so it didn't work. And then it goes on and on and on. And then at the end, the guy finds out that he's actually 500 years into the future and she's 500 years into the past. And then she eventually leaves for good. And then he stumbles upon her dead body like near the monument, and a message she left for him. That took a lot of recovery process, or a large recovery process, my god. For instance, there's this line, she actually said this to him because she was still like keeping up the guise that she was in the future and he was in the past. So she says this to him: despite all the life in you, despite all that hope and momentum, somewhere in the soil of this planet, perhaps not even very far from where I sit, I could go to the place where your bones are buried, and now they neither want for nor understand a thing. And that is so good, is it not? That is such a fucking good line. My God. But yeah, that was probably one of my favorite stories, but I loved all of them, to be honest. I loved Gwendolyn, I loved Legs on Top, I loved The Behemoth, I loved all of the stories, and all of them broke me in a different way because they all represented different dynamics of love, which I think every human has experienced to some facet. Each one of these dynamics between in loving a teacher or loving a student you might have, loving a pet, the sort of bond between a father and son, whether you're the son or the father, whichever you resonate with the most, and then, two lovers. They're all dynamics we've faced in our lives to some facet, and so that's why I think everyone hit like a truck. Every short story, the conclusion of all of them hit like a truck. So yeah, they were all brilliant. Oh, his name was Rate. Okay. Yeah, and she was kind of holding up this impression, although she already knew she was in the past. She was just holding up this sort of idea that she was in the future, but then she broke it to him, and then it was like this big, oh my fucking God moment, and it was brilliant. And also in the last story between the father and the son, the characters kind of start to meet each other, and that was nice. I think the book was remarkably well done from a technique perspective, because stuff like that is hard to pull off, so hard, and yet he did it without even it causing a blip in cohesion or whatever. It was really good. As for the big sisters and the sort of Sublimia syndrome geometry madness that they go into at the end, or they don't, what do I think about it? I'm not quite sure, to be honest, because the geometric randomness at the end, I don't know what to make of it, because I wouldn't know how you would write the ending. I'd have thought the ending would be like what it was, which was like a sort of an emotional roller coaster in essentially the fatuousness of events, in knowing his father is going to die to bring him to this Sublimia place where the rest of his family is. That's what I would have thought it to be. I don't know what I was hoping for the big sisters. Do you know, at the start of the book, I was so excited to see what these big sisters are. It actually makes more sense the way Exurbia's done it, and making it so arbitrary, and making them, or sort of having them as a representation, a commentary on the unknowable or whatever. They could actually still be people, right? Or they still are people, it's implied, I think, or things, beings, entities, whatever, but not people or entities that we meet. And I think it makes more sense that way. But my childlike curiosity at the start, I was really hoping I'd see some fucking cool sci-fi shit with these people who bend universes in half, and I don't know, giants or whatever, I don't know. But I suppose a lot of it comes down to how I think I'd perceive, or how I think I really like putting myself in stories and what I'd do if I was X, or if I was in X scenario. Given I was in this sort of universe hundreds and hundreds of millions of years in the future, how would I interpret the world, the universe, whatever, in seeing so much of it come to be resolved apathetically? I feel like there's some sort of magic in living now, because there's so much we don't know. But those guys in the future, physics almost seems to be that of a solved or completed art. And I wonder how I'd fare in such a universe. Probably not well, I must say. And even the definition of Sublimia syndrome that Alex gives in the book is, it was the feeling or the dread of having your paradigm shattered, and having something so fundamental about the world you thought to be true just broken. Let me pull up the actual thing, because that's really shit. I tried to paraphrase it, but I just can't remember for the life of me. Yeah, the paralyzing fear that even one's most basic assumptions about the world are incorrect, or to be heavily warped at least. That's what Exurbia wrote about it. We all had that moment when we were a child, didn't we? Where we watched this YouTube video and it said that the sun was going to explode in 4.6 billion years, and we kind of shit ourselves, and we crashed out completely and turned the iPad off, breathing heavily on the sofa or whatever, and you stayed silent around your family and friends for the next week. as though like you knew something that they didn't. You're like, you have to bear the burden of this forbidden knowledge or whatever. But I think as I've grown up, I actually strangely want nothing more than for my paradigm to completely be shattered. I think there's beauty in being wrong. I really love being wrong. I'd love my paradigm to be completely broken, and I seek it out. And that's why I watch and read books on sciencey shit in case they tell me something I completely had a misconception about. Misconceptions are great because when they are eventually resolved, it feels so good. That's not the story with the Sublimia syndrome, because we're not just talking about, silly little misconceptions about space or whatever. We're talking about reality itself. Your senses not being enough to even conceptualize the true nature of things. Your senses essentially being some sort of hindrance, or not hindrance, but giving you a false paradigm of the world. That's a completely different thing, and that, I think, would send anybody rational down into a spiral. But anyway, it's time for that time of the... I'm going to be reading my favourite quotes from the book, because I already read one of them. There's a few other good ones. For instance, this one, page 257. Actually, I think my pages are different, because I bought the Kindle one. I don't know. The only requirement to brave the future was to promise oneself never to be broken by it. I mean, that's applicable for everybody reading the book and everybody in today's era. Essentially, you can brave anything provided you promised yourself to persevere no matter how bleak things get. And I like that because it's very applicable and nice, and I like books with commentary on real life musings, whatever, I don't know. Oh, there was also this one. There must be a day when you wake up hoping to be better and just accept that the betterness isn't here and won't be visiting tomorrow or the next decade either. Surely this is how the universe makes artists. I like that. I like that a lot. I can't quite resonate with it because I'm not a fucking author or anything. I don't class my videos as art or anything. How pretentious would that be? Sorry, I'm just fucking scrolling through the Kindle because I don't prepare at all for these things. But oh, this one is so good. Do you know how strange it is to commit yourself to something as thankless as time? It answers no prayers, provides no comfort. Its only defining character is its insistence. And that was after the other female scientist. She had essentially given the gig up that she is 500 years behind. Or I don't even know if it's 500. Why did I keep saying 500? I don't remember that's the case. I don't know. But where she tells him she's behind in time, and he goes and finds her corpse, and in the box that she's left for him is this note, and it says that, and it's such a good quote. Oh my god, and it kills me because it's so brutal. She used the machination under the sort of building or monument the big sisters made to actually go further forward in time to meet Rete as an old man. And so essentially, Rete is going to stay on this planet. I don't even remember if he was stuck there or something, but he's going to stay on this planet because she speaks to his older self and he wants to speak to her. And so in that way, she's not really gone. Oh fuck, man. Jesus Christ. I can't stop reading shit that makes me fucking disgustingly miserable at the end. Not miserable in a bad way, miserable in I feel empty sort of way. And I think a lot of what this book's about is longing, the sort of longing at the cornerstones of the human condition. And it's not confined to one singular viewpoint as well. It's from plenty. So it really hits all of the sort of brain areas of the human experience. And so it's really good. And it's about longing or something. Or at least it gives you that feeling the entire way through the book. You long that, I can't even remember what their names are, this is so pathetic, but you long that the father and son go through the Sublimia gate or whatever together, but that you know they don't. You long for the scientists to meet, but you know they won't. You long for legs on top to live longer, but you know they won't. You long for Master Gwendolyn's student to come back and not be dead, but you know he won't. I've also read The Fifth Science by Exurbia. I preferred Sublimia Syndrome to that one. I really liked both, but Sublimia Syndrome felt far more personal, but also far more brilliant. I'm surprised it's not bigger than it is, because I really did like the book. That's the thing, and it's probably been far too long, so sorry about that, but I'll try and cut it down. Christ, it's been long. Yeah. Fucking Merry Christmas, by the way. By the time I upload this, it'll probably be like a few weeks out before Christmas, so Merry Christmas, and sorry for uploading so much shit on you recently. Do go read the book, and keep on reading The Great Gatsby if you are, because I'm going to read it and review it with you. And do keep reading as well. Maybe I'll review a book that you love. I don't know. Merry Christmas. Have a nice holiday season. Or a Happy New Year if that's when you're watching. Just be excited about things. Go and adventure and love life, because it's great. Cheers. Bye now.